Welcome back to Eliances Heroes, where heroes in business align. To be part of our super community and find out more about Eliances, visit www.Eliances.com.
All right, we've got so much to go over in such a short period of time, so make sure you listen carefully. If you're driving right now, just continue to listen. But if not, you're going to want to make sure you take a lot of notes. And make sure you go to Eliances.com. That's Eliances.com, because it is the only place where entrepreneurs align. And I'm honored today because our next guest today, Derek Lundsten, he is the CEO of Life Guides, and you could reach him at lifeguides.com. So what comes to mind when you think of Life Guides? A lot of things comes to mind for me, but I want our next hero to go ahead and share that. So with that, Derek, tell us about Life Guides.
Thanks, David. So Life Guides is a platform designed to use technology to match people who have been through a life challenge of sorts and are now on the other side and have learned the experience of that with people who are in the same experience or challenge now that need the support emotionally, mentally, spiritually to work through it in the most healthy, effective way and be the happiest, healthiest version of themselves. That's what Life Guides is here to do.
Okay, so tell me about some of those then experience of the matching in that. Like what type of experience of what someone who's been through, and what are you seeing of people needing to have that type of experience of someone who's been through it?
Absolutely. So it's all different things. So for example, a relationship challenge, people go through a divorce is a common one, or you're caring for aging parents, for example, that are going through dementia and you're going through the caregiving cycle. So those are a couple of examples that commonly we see. Or now, as a result of the pandemic, homeschooling your children and the concept of how do you balance your time of taking care of your kids and taking care of your business and managing the new reality of the routines, right? Those are a few things that we're seeing many examples of. But the way it works for the person going online, they go to the app, they fill in a little profile about themselves and where they think they need support, and they will then be matched up with a guide who has that same or a very similar life experience and perspective that has received training and potentially professional education in that area as well.
I think this is, I think this is excellent. I think this is really such an excellent, brilliant idea in itself. And how do you see the difference? Because a lot of people, when they have the problems, what do? They contact, their friends or contact a family member, and they go, I can't believe this happened. And then yappity, yap, the friend tells them, you need to do this. You have to do this. You should do this. I care for you, blah, blah, blah. Talk to me about, though, the difference of that versus using somebody like Life Guides.
Well, a couple of things. One, besides just giving advice, that's actually the secondary aspect. It's just someone who understands what you're going through, right? So the idea that, I have firsthand known the emotions, the experiences, the challenges that you have in this particular time in your life, that makes there's an immediate level of connection and trust. And then when someone brings forward ideas that they're thinking or, the thoughts that they're having or things that they're trying to solve this, the person who's guiding can actually tell them, yeah, I did those or things, or I didn't do those. Here's what happened. Here's how it worked. And so it's a firsthand source of experience and support and empathy of how someone can work through that particular experience. It's a lot different than your friend who may not know what you're talking about. They may not be able to understand it, and they may have a different perspective altogether than what's really needed for the person who's going through that particular challenge in their life. And
again, we've got with us Derek Lundsten. He is the CEO of Life Guides, and you can reach him at lifeguides.com. So is there any kind of magic bullet to get through some of, things that happen within life that are just so drastic? Because you live long enough, most things are going to eventually happen. I mean, maybe in different flavors to each other, but is there any kind of secret thing to deal with it when it happens right at that time?
So thanks. That's a great question. So one of our quote unquote taglines is life challenges are inevitable, right? So to your point, life happens and something will inevitably happen that requires you to look at your self-beliefs, look at how you're, showing up in your relationships and your identities in life. And that's exactly it. So I think the magic bullet, if you will, David, is to recognize that everyone has challenges. Everyone has this shared experience, and that shared experience and that ability to connect with each other, to help each other, is the magic bullet. That's the part that I think people are yearning for in this world, especially this technology-driven world. People are yearning for connection. They're yearning for understanding, and they want to be, looking with someone who understands and can walk with them and be a sounding board and someone who understands them. And I think that it's never been more clear than that's needed right now, in my opinion, if you look at the world that we're living in.
Now, also too, is to share a secret is that you listeners and viewers may have that lifetime opportunity to be able to also meet Derek in person at one of the many various experiences of at Eliances. In fact, Derek, share with us what it was like with your first experience having come and experienced the Eliances Roundtable, for example.
Thanks, David. Yeah, it was actually one of my very first weeks in Phoenix. So I had moved my family across the country to Phoenix to build Life Guides. This is where our headquarters is. And I had been invited by one of the board members, in fact, Brian from, forget his tag name, but
Human Link.
Human Link, that's what, yeah. And so he had invited me. And so he was kind enough to say, hey, you're new in town, why don't you come to this event? And so I had the chance to meet, I think it was almost 100 people in a matter of a few hours who are part of the Phoenix business community and who are doing all different great companies, great work, great offerings. And I had the chance to meet people on a real personal level and to learn more about their businesses and how people can serve and support each other. And I was really encouraged by what I saw as a first impression. Being a newcomer to the community, I felt very accepted and embraced by the people here and excited about the business collaborations that I believe exist here. And it's exciting because, it's been an interesting few months with everyone being in a pandemic. I feel it's going to be when people can gather again in person, it's going to be, just a massive explosion of positivity and growth that people are going to be seeking. So I can't wait for that point, David.
Absolutely. Now, what about, we have a number of listeners and viewers too that also may be professions within their field of counselors and these things, or have had experience helping guide people. Maybe they're licensed, maybe they're not, and all that. Would they also qualify or be part of, or should they be part of going to lifeguides.com?
Absolutely, they should be. That's part of the benefits. Not only can people receive support, but one of the coolest parts about Life Guides is that everyone has an experience that they can share and be a guide. Whether you're a professionally educated therapist or social worker or physician or a CEO, for example, to someone who is just looking for their next opportunity to give back after they've retired, for example. Anyone can be a life guide if you have the life experience and are able to communicate that. And part of our role is we help train people on how to communicate that, how to ask the questions, how to listen effectively, how to provide feedback when appropriate, and to support someone. And so anyone can be a life guide and learn and grow and have a purposeful profession or way to earn a living while helping people and serving people.
What an amazing idea. How did it come to be?
So I had met one of the co-founders actually at a peer group a few years ago called Abundance 360 with Peter Diamandis. You may know him. He was one of the founders of the X Prize. And so he runs a group of entrepreneurs that were there. And so Mark and the founder of Match.com, Will Bunker, was there. And Mark had come up with this idea and kind of shared it with Will. And then I heard it. We all just kind of started popcorning around this idea of how do you optimize for human experience and wisdom sharing, and how do we tap into technology to facilitate that? And it seemed like the natural iteration or evolution of what's happened with the level of trust that people have in sharing economy type of products. You open up your home, you share your car, you share your work. Why would you not want to share your experience? And how do we find a way to connect people more effectively than just looking through Google searches, for example? And so it just seemed like a natural evolution of where this is going, but for a much higher purpose. Because I think it's important to mention, David, we're a benefit corporation. So our first highest priority is to help people. It's in our mission statement, and to build a sustainable business model that accomplishes that goal. That's what we are actually building here.
In fact, some of the questions we're getting is asking, what is the revenue model?
Yeah, so right now, the way that we're offering this service is we're looking for corporate conscious executives and conscious companies that recognize the responsibility they have to take care of their employees and their communities. And essentially they are sponsoring and giving this product to their people and to their significant others that can then use this, and their people then can share that with other members in their community and other organizations. And so essentially we're having sponsored well-being through organizations, through corporations. And so the very idea of conscious capitalism, we are applying this through a shared model, through a crowdsourced model.
Now, Derek, you've seen a lot, having been the CEO of Life Guides. You see a lot of the requests that are coming in of what people need. You see the requests of what people are looking to fill in that. Are there any things that you see that perhaps parents can help with the children? Because I imagine that's another thing too, the stress of raising children, right? And you almost go through it all over again, having children. Are there some things that you can share? We have many parents that are listening now to be able to deal with their children events, and also too to be able to raise them like you've been raised, and clearly you're on the right path, having lifeguides.com and being involved with that. What are some of those things you can share?
So first off, absolutely, there's a whole series of quote unquote topics or challenges around being a parent. And in our application, people can come in and choose those categories for exactly what you were just talking about. Communicating with your children, working through educating your children, balancing the growth process that people experience in those relationships. That's all a big part of it. And it's actually an area, even myself personally, I was talking with a gentleman the other day about this topic, that our role as fathers is changing in the world that we now live in, and who else to talk to but other fathers who have experienced and have been on the path ahead, right? So you can avoid some of those mistakes or learn some of the lessons. So absolutely, parenting is a huge part. And it goes back to what we said before. Life Guides is really just facilitating what's already existed. The idea of peer-to-peer connection, peer-to-peer support, and learning, as you know, David, through Alliances, that's the very concept is what we're building on. So we're just tapping into what already exists and helping people to find a way to optimize against a need that's being underserved, which is the challenges of life.
Well, Derek, you connect with those that are looking for peer-to-peer live conversations to simplify life challenges, which we all have, and, well, being alive, continue to have. That makes you a hero. Make sure you check him out, Derek Lundsten. All right. CEO of Life Guides. Make sure you go to lifeguides.com. This has been David Kogan with the Eliances Hero Show.